Shiver it will what? Do you well. The rest is in, huh? Only, we've done all we can. Fadda.
So, going through the body, and people went through a little more again when the Prophet said that he like swore that he won't go to his wives or something to that effect. I read in Sahih Bukhari that said because he had dislocated arm or dislocated foot or something to that nature. Is that true? Is that not right translation? Or
Show me what you're talking about. Show me. Bring it to me. Bring me it. Let me then. Easier and better, okay? Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Okay?
Yachting club?
WB hand check. Am I? Assalamu alaikum. Noble Sheikh. Do emojis take the same ruling as tasweer?
Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. Do emojis take the same ruling as tasweer? Some could possibly take the ruling, perhaps. As far as ones which are totally fantasy, creatures that do not exist, faces, colors, shapes, a round, yellow face, which will never be a person, perhaps that doesn't take the ruling. With regards to what the scholars have explained of al-makhluqat al-khayaliyah, a creature that doesn't exist, not necessarily taking the exact same ruling as something which is makhluk, that's real, and that includes and entails mudahatu khalqillah, imitating and going neck to neck, trying to go neck to neck with Allah's created things and Allah's act of creating. Of course, the best thing to do, the general rule, is to stay away from it. Do without. Does it take the exact same ruling, hand by hand, yadan biyad? Allahu alam.
In Cleveland, Ohio, can a disbeliever get a ruqya?
Get what?
Ruqya.
Ruqya?
Yeah, correct.
Ruqya.
Can a disbeliever get ruqya? Qad tanfa'. Could possibly help them out. Allah Azza wa Jalla is merciful to all of his created beings on one level or another. Perhaps. Allahu alam. Fadl.
Does snowing in the town of snowing hold a similar virtue to that of rain?
Does snowing hold a similar virtue to rain or an equal virtue to rain? From one aspect, we say no. Whereas rain has been specifically mentioned. Specifically. By different words and different terms. Water, ghaith, rahmah, okay, wa amtarna, we sent down upon them, mataran, okay, whether it's a blessing or a punishment. It's a blessing or a punishment. So, from one aspect, rain has been mentioned vividly and explicitly several times. So, nothing else is going to take the place of that. It's not just precipitation, wetness, things being sent. Allah mentioned it directly, specifically, more than once. The concept of it being something which is phenomenal to us, amazing to us. Snow melts and turns into water. It's still a benefit. It's still a manifestation of Allah's qudra, Allah's power. And of course, that has to have some type of meaning. Wallahu alam. But it's not the same as what? As rain. Abadan. Let alone places in which it doesn't snow. Places in which there is no snow, but there's what? Rain, whether a little or a lot. It's going to snow. It's going to rain at one point or another in the desert. One point or another. A day out of the year, 2 days out of the year. But snow could only be specific to certain areas and certain locations. So mercy is definitely going to be it's going to be more general, and everyone can realize it, and everyone can relate to it. Even the Bedouins in the desert, they can relate to what? Rain, but everybody can't relate to snow. Wallahu alam.
LL, Daniel in Mexico. Assalamu alaikum. My 12-year-old daughter who reverted to Islam won't wear hijab out of fear of being different. Can you force a child to wear into a hijab? What should I do?
Type. The question is coming from New Mexico with regards to my 12-year-old daughter who has reverted to Islam should not wear the hijab because she's afraid of being different. Can I force her or do I force her to wear the hijab? I would say, don't force her. Talk with her. Try to reason with her. try to find for her company of young Muslim sisters who wear the hijab, and let her see that wearing the hijab is a means of beauty. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's a means of beauty. Ahlan bikum. It's a means of beauty. Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. It's a means of honor. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Ahlan bikum. It's a means of honor. It's a means of respect. And to be a Muslim and to practice Islam, included in that is covering, you don't have to be a robot or someone that's weird and strange and perverse. Muslim brothers, Muslim sisters like to eat good things and drink good things and play sports and visit each other. And we have lives, we have hobbies. We're humans as well. We have humans as well. And if it's an issue of peer pressure or being afraid, being looked down upon, then you have to go against the grain. And you have to create the environment and the atmosphere in which the same thing that she's running from, she'll run towards. I don't want to be the one sticking out because I'm not wearing hijab. I don't want to be the one sticking out because I'm too afraid, because I'm too scared. In a room full of brothers who have beards, I don't want to be the only what? Shaven person. You have to make the other environment. And obviously the environment and the atmosphere, inshallah, will have the opposite effect. The opposite effect. So that would be my advice. Of course, the Muslim father or Muslim mother, you have a responsibility of enjoining the good and forbidding the evil. You have a responsibility of enforcing Allah's laws upon your ra'iyah. The Prophet ﷺ says, Kullukum ra'in. Kullukum ra'in. You are a shepherd. You have sheep that you're responsible for. However, Muslim minorities coming to Islam, the pressure from family members, Christians, Catholics, is Arab culture, so on and so on and so forth. There's so many outside influences in which you have to proceed with wisdom, hikmah. Take it slow, be gentle, explain to her, teach her, encourage her. And oftentimes if you force her and enjoin it upon her and place it upon her and she is afraid or scared or embarrassed, it may have the adverse effect. She may go back to being a Catholic. She may go back to being a Christian. She may go back to this and may go back to that. So be mindful. That would be my advice. Make sure you make dua for her. Pray for her. Be gentle with her. Take your time. Don't rush it. Don't push it. Just let the girl see it. Take her to other places, other family members, and let them see what it's like to be a young Muslim sister. And with regards to this question and any other question, me coming from a place like Philadelphia, in which there are tons of Muslims of all walks of life, Muslims of all different backgrounds, ethnicities, etc. And Philadelphia, anyone who's ever been in Philadelphia knows that Philadelphia is a special place when it comes to this. The moment you come into Philadelphia, you're going to see a niqab. I'm making this up. A beard. You're going to fit in. You're going to feel more welcome than other places. How did Philadelphia become like that? They had to make that. They had to create that. It didn't happen overnight. So when it comes to New York City or New Mexico or other places, you yourself have to do that as well. Let someone migrate to that city, make a small masjid, make a dawah center, make a conference, invite people to come and to congregate and to concentrate in an area in which you what? You create that nucleus in which, yes, outside of the building, outside of the school, you're a stranger. But alhamdulillah, you have your food, your drink, your shopping, everything. You can be what? A covering Muslim sister and not feel alienated. So it's a very important responsibility upon the brothers to build and establish the Islamic identity and the Islamic atmosphere and the Islamic environment. And oftentimes, if you can't go there, then you have to do what? You have to bring it there. And that's why we have man-made islands, man-made ponds, man-made springs. They can't have it. It isn't their natural. And they do what? They make it. They build it. And they don't cry and complain and say, oh, we're in the middle of the desert. And the UAE and Dubai, they did what? They built it. They made the atmosphere that they wanted to have. So it's very important for us to realize that. And if we do that, things will be easier for our children to practice the correct deen, the correct Islam. Wallahu alam.
Am I Lyndon? Barakallahu feek, Mufti. Can you please recommend a book on Islamic finance for the beginner student of knowledge?
A book on Islamic finance for the beginning student of knowledge. I wouldn't advise a specific book on finance. I would advise you to study a chapter of Islamic fiqh on buying and selling. A simple, easy selection would be the explanation of Madarij al-Salikin, Sheikh Abdurrahman Jibreen, rahimahullah ta'ala. The book is there. Maybe we can show you the copy. It's right there. Taht. Right there, to the left. Yeah, to the left, down, right there, down. There you go. 2 volumes. نعم. هذا هو. طيب. So, a specific book, we can give you books, but oftentimes it's best to have what? إبهاج المؤمنين بشرح منهج السالكين. Ibn Sa'di rahimahullah ta'ala, he mentions Kitab al-Buyu', and Sheikh Jibreen rahimahullah ta'ala has a very simple and easy explanation, huh? Bidnillah. So I would advise you, as a beginning student of knowledge, to focus on locking down the fundamentals of al-Buyu', of a thaman, muthman, etc., the fundamentals of riba, the fundamentals of the conditions of a valid transaction. Once you've locked that down through this small book, this chapter, then you move on to another one, and then you pick up a specific book just on the what? On the topic. The last piece of advice is this will also necessitate for you to have knowledge of the worldly aspect of transactions and finance. Many people, they want to know about the different stocks and bonds and trading and riba and interest, etc., and they don't even know the English equivalent of it. They're uneducated and they're illiterate in the actual financial world and the kuffar laws and their own sharia. So you have to know both. That would be my nasiha. Wallahu alam. Ibhaj al-Mu'minin, huh? Sharh Manhaj al-Salikin, 2 volumes. Very good book for beginners fiqh here. We've done classes from him before. Kitab al-Siyam. Wallahu alam. Fadna.
Springfield, Virginia, Jazakallah khair for your efforts, Mufti. What were the wives of the companions that righteous men do while the men were out on expeditions? What lessons can sisters take from them?
What would the wives of the righteous Salaf do when they were out on expeditions, traveling, making hajj, so on and so forth? Tayyib. Well, life as we know it is very different. Nowadays, I can be in Malaysia, I can be in Antarctica, and I can FaceTime my best friend, my wife, my son, my daughter, and I can put them where I am. They can be a part of my day. What I had for breakfast, what I had for lunch, where I'm going, what I'm wearing. I can tell my daughter a bedtime story. I'm 10,000 miles away. I'm calling on a different time zone, a FaceTime, and she can do what? I can read her a bedtime story. Good night, love you, good night. Back in the day, it wasn't what? Wasn't like that. Things were very different. So life as we know it is different. It's not necessarily the same. So oftentimes people, let's talk about polygamy. Many people, they look at polygamy today as a curse. I'll never do it. I can't do it. It's not for me. Polygamy in those days was a what? It was a blessing. And that's because they had things to do. It was difficult. Milking the sheep and the goat and the cow, the fleece, the wool, the market, the bazaar. They had to stitch, they had to sew, they had to weave, they had to do so much work. So when their husbands were away, they worked together. They came together, they kept each other's company. They kept each other what? They kept each other in one piece when their men were away. And most importantly, they awaited for their return. So oftentimes absence is a blessing. Being far away, being out of contact sometimes is a what? Is a blessing. And there's no doubt you eat the same thing every day. Oftentimes you don't appreciate it. You get the same thing every day, easily, simply. You don't value that thing. And sometimes a big part of being in a relationship and loving someone is to miss them and not to be with them every single day and every night. And there's a wisdom in that. And the law did not legislate polygamy out of accident. وَمَا كَانَ رَبُّكَ نَسِيًّا. Allah doesn't forget. Allah doesn't make error. There's wisdom in that. So therefore, the Sahaba, how they lived is very different than how we live. Life was harsh. Life was rough. There were many sacrifices that were required for day-to-day living. So when their husbands were gone, those women, they came together. They worked together. They came together as a unit. So maybe this is a lesson that the sisters can learn from today. If she's not my co-wife, she's my neighbor. Or my husband is traveling with your husband too, so let's get together. Let's do something for when they come back. Let's learn something. Let's review something, etc., etc., etc. Everyone understand this? Also, the concept of hafidhatun lil ghaib. All right, protecting your chastity in your husband's absence, guarding his wealth in his absence, keeping his house intact in his absence. Very important. Your husband shouldn't come back to some type of misfortune or some type of calamity. And this is a part of the supplication of traveling. Allahumma inna na'udhu bika min wa'itha'i safar wa ka'abat al-manzar wa su'il munqalabi fil mali wal ahl. Oh Allah, we seek your refuge from the hardships and the difficulties of traveling. and how you look and the image and the appearance of being beat up and worn out of traveling was su'il munqalab, and coming back to misfortune or calamity concerning fil mali wal ahl, wealth and my family. So I would say if your husband is away, try to imitate those righteous women by protecting your honor in his absence, and do not allow anyone to speak ill of him or say anything about him. Let alone there's some women when their husbands travel, they speak ill of their husbands. They speak ill to their husbands. They're sending them a text message and calling them, you didn't do this, and you didn't care that, and you left this, and you neglect me, and you never spent time with me, and you took her, and Kevin, and Kevin, and Kevin, and Kevin, and Kevin, and Kevin, and Kevin. That's while he's on his trip. It's a problem. So I don't think the Sahaba and the women would do that. Everybody's going to complain on one level or another, but I don't think they would leave them on a trip with that type of negative energy. You may not come back from Hajj. You may not come back from jihad fi sabilillah. You may not come back from being a merchant. You may not come back. So they realize the reality of life. Oftentimes, no doubt better and more than we did. So realize that your husband may not come back to you alive. That's number one. Protect his honor in his absence. Protect and guard your chastity in his absence. Don't drive around with your niqab lifted up. And you know that your husband doesn't like you to do that. Keep your niqab down as if you're sitting next to your husband. Don't flirt with this person or talk to this person or allow this evil person into his house that he doesn't approve of in his absence. And for sure the Sahabiyat, they understood that from the Quran was Sunnah. وَلَكُمْ أَنْ لَا يُؤْطِئْنَا فُرْشَكُمْ أَوْ فُرْشَكُمْ مَنْ تَكْرَهُونَهُ. The Hadith says, is that they are not allowed أَنْ لَا يُؤْطِئْنَا, to allow anyone to sit on your carpets or your sofas, مَنْ تَكْرَهُونَهُ, those whom you dislike. I don't want fulan over my house, period. I don't want this distant relative over my house, period. Don't bring that person over my house. That's the haqq of the husband in the absence of the what? In the absence of, everyone understand this? And there are many ahadith about the virtue of supporting the ghazi, the warrior in Allah's cause in his absence. And what he would get from Allah. And also the punishment of betraying a warrior in Allah's cause in his absence. And what would happen and what would take place on the day of judgment, of them taking from the good deeds of the person who betrayed them. So all of these things have to be done in the absence of the husband. And these things were all manifested by the Sahabiyat, by the Salaf, the women of the Salaf, etc. My advice in 2020 is to make it your job and your duty to tell and express to your husband that you love him, that you miss him. But at the same time, I will be patient until you return. And when you return, the moment you step foot in the house, I'm going to treat you like a king. It's not going to be why and how and you're late and this and that. Did you stop at this wife's house? Did you care? I'm going to treat you with love and with respect and with honor. And then, inshallah ta'ala, you make your tent, for your husband, a palace, as she said. Your tent will be my palace. That means something, all right? So oftentimes, people, they talk about, I'll tell you a story. There was a brother once. He wanted to marry a sister from overseas. She was from a Muslim country, and this country, it was well known, or there was a stereotype that this country was practicing sihr, magic or sorcery, some type of love spell, right? So the brother, he said to the sister, he says, I want to get married to you, but I'm afraid that you'll put a sihr on me. Because I've heard people in this country all do what? Sihr. A lot of people have gotten sihr. So the sister, she said, according to the narration, she didn't say we don't do sihr. That's a lie. Don't stereotype us. She says, Naam, indana sihr. She says, we do have sihr in my country. It's very widespread. And that sihr is, we smile when we see our husbands. There's a hot plate of food waiting on the table. There's a bath waiting. There's a hug and a kiss. Let me take off your shoes. There is this and there's that, and there's no argument and fighting and complaining. And it says that's the sihr that we what? That we use on our husbands. So if that's the sihr that you're afraid of, then what? Keep moving. But if that's the sihr that you're looking for, then what? Mirhaba. Come close. Everyone understand this? So just think about that now. Think about that now. Your husband coming home and he feels with the utmost respect, love, honor, nobility. My wife is happy to see me. Versus sarcasm. And the sister, she also said to the brother, and wallahi, this is the truth. She said, who wants to see their wife, كأنها قامت من القبر. As if she came out of a what? A grave. Hair, clothes, everything is all over the place. No one wants to see their wife like that. So just be mindful of these things, And this is a long, long discussion. Wallahu alam. Wa sallallahu sallam wa